Okay, so welcome to our channel.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know who Ashleigh is, the Muscle Maven, can you give a brief little intro to who you are?
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to be brief. I'm trying to look and see if people are leaving messages. I have to turn my head. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. So yeah, really briefly, I've been a sort of health and fitness writer and podcaster for almost a decade now. I've always been interested in different fitness modalities and learning about food and health and being strong and all of those things. And I decided about 10 years ago to kind of combine my skill, which is communicating and writing and connecting people, with the stuff that I like to do, which is learn about food and fitness. So over the past sort of decade, I've kind of grown my own brand to include a bunch of different stuff. So freelancers, we're always doing a ton of different things. So I worked for a really long time with Paleo Magazine and hosted their podcast. I have my own podcast. I now help other fitness people expand and manage their own brands. So I work in a kind of consulting basis for a lot of people who are starting or growing their own podcasts and managing sponsorship relationships and things like that. But really, ultimately, my life is just sort of nerding out on health and fitness and interviewing the greatest minds in all of these areas and sort of just absorbing that information and putting that information out to the rest of the world. So I'm very lucky.
Perfect. And I understand that you didn't start in the fitness industry. You had a different career before this. How did you make that transition into fitness and nutrition?
Yeah, so my background and my what I went to school for was marketing and communications, and I essentially kind of took the first good job that I could get out of university. I lived in Bermuda at the time. That's where my mother's from. And I had moved there, and I ended up doing sort of corporate communications for a number of years. And that job moved me to New York, and I got to kind of exposure at that time, sort of in the early days of CrossFit. And so I was really into CrossFit in New York. And then, of course, as these things tend to sort of trickle down to each other. So I was into CrossFit, and then I was kind of in my mid-20s, and I'm like, okay, now I need to care about what I'm eating. And so all of these things were starting to kind of steamroll. And as I was realizing that the sort of long, grueling hours of wearing a business suit, was not really for me, it took a little bit of time, and it took certainly some risk and confidence and being willing to be rejected and being willing to be patient through all this process, because I kind of made the transition slowly. I was still doing work that was paying the bills and was the real job while I was writing for different publications and kind of trying to get my name out there in different areas. And, it definitely took a long time, and I'm still working on it, right? That's the thing about, again, being a consultant or a freelancer or building your own business, is you're never done doing those things. So, but I just, at a certain point, I just realized the longer I stay in a job that pays well, that I don't care about at all, the easier or the harder it'll be to leave, right? So I wanted to kind of make that transition and move into the stuff that I really cared about while I still had the energy to do it. And yeah, that's how I'm here now.
Perfect. And so today we're talking about that nutrition aspect of how you've transitioned into fitness and nutrition. A lot of your Instagram posts and all the posts that you do have organ meats, and you talk about paleo a lot.
Yeah.
During this time, a lot of people are finding that they are definitely cooking more for themselves. At the same time, they're snacking a lot more. Yeah. What would your philosophy be for nutrition and people trying to get back on track?
I think one of the things that I've been trying to certainly do in my own life, and I've been talking to other people about, is this idea that motivation is very overrated and very finite. And so if you have a motivation to lose a couple pounds or go on this super strict diet, that motivation is going to wane at some point when you're sitting at home and you've got snacks in the cupboard and you're bored, or you're tired, or you're kind of upset because the situation sucks. In any goal that you have, you can't rely entirely on motivation. It's great to be motivated, but when that inevitably kind of dips or whatever, we end up feeling like we're not good enough, or these people are better than I am, and I can't cut it, and all this stuff, when in reality, we all have those moments of losing motivation or that just not being enough. So I think that the most successful people work very hard to create consistent habits that become a part of their day so that they don't have to make a choice. They don't have to rely on willpower. They don't have to rely on motivation. And so things like if you are trying to work towards a sustainable meal plan, not a super strict one or a crazy one where you never eat a snack, but something that's going to be sustainable, that's going to help you achieve your goals, you need to write down a plan. You need to create a system so that after a while, the things that you're trying to do just become things that you do. And then you don't have to think every day. You don't have to get up every morning and think like, okay, should I eat the healthy meal or like the meal I want to eat? And should I do this workout or should I just wait and see how I feel later? Like you just have to make it, just like getting up and just like brushing your teeth, it has to be a behavior change rather than like a motivational thing. I think that's kind of like, I think the starting point is like creating this kind of baseline of like lifestyle changes, and then you can kind of tweak from there, I think.
So how would you install some of the behavior change? Like I know for me, I tell my clients not to have chips just lying around, like put it away, don't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. But I think a lot of people, they talk about either like journaling or keeping a record of what you're doing. And, you know, you can get into the conversation about tracking food and tracking workouts becoming obsessive and becoming something that is dysfunctional for people. And I think that, you know, if you're one of those people or not, you know, if you're somebody that benefits from keeping a lot of track rather than somebody who kind of just like plays it by ear a little bit more. But these are the things as adults that we have to learn to do. We can't snack all the time because it feels good. We can't eat whatever we want, whenever we want, just because we can. You know, we have to make decisions that are better for our long-term health and goals rather than this immediate gratification. And like, look, it's difficult. We all do it. We're all probably baking a little bit more or snacking a little bit more or having days where we're just like not motivated to do like a crazy workout at home. Like I'm having this issue too, because I actually have a pretty great like setup, like at home gym, right? It's not good life, but it's, you know, it'll do the trick. But
yeah, definitely.
I miss the energy of a gym, and I miss the barbells, and I miss, you know, being able to do harder things in a bigger place and the energy of other people being there. And so some days it's just not there. And I'm okay with that. I do the things that I need to do throughout the day to be healthy and take care of myself. And if I don't crush an intense workout every day, I'm not beating myself up over it.
Perfect. So some of the questions we have, I know we're on a bit of a time limit, so I'm just going to get into the questions that people have asked me. Nutrition and hormones, I know that's not your forte, but have you noticed as nutrition changes and with training especially, does it change with hormones as well? Like do you find women should be more aware of when their levels are higher and lower for hormonal change?
Yeah. Excuse me. I mean, I think that it's worth noting here for hormones that obviously women and our hormones are very complicated. There's a lot going on. There's a lot changing from week to week. And there's also a lot of bioindividuality between women. So, you know, if you've got PCOS or if you have sort of hormonal imbalances that you're working to correct, those are specific issues that you need to work with a professional to address, right? But I think, again, this isn't medical advice, this is just my opinion, but I think that what we should be focusing on most with women in terms of working out and eating and hormones is, instead of nitpicking about how much magnesium you should be eating this week and should I do more cardio versus more weightlifting this week, I think that we should be focusing on, again, these sort of core healthy lifestyle behaviors so that we are the healthiest we can possibly be, so that we're more resilient, and we also are not led by our cycles. So the vast majority of us, our cycle is a part of our life, and we're going to have energy dips and we're going to have cravings, we're going to have things like that. But if you are really maximizing these lifestyle factors like sleep and stress management and nutrition, your cycle is not going to be that big a deal. It generally for most people isn't. Like, you don't have to, and this is from what I've read and talked to, you know, hormone expert female doctors and stuff, that again, generally speaking, the more important thing is to just be as healthy and resilient as we can, and then let your body tell you what you want to do. So the other part to that, I would say, is that women tend to be really hard on themselves about oh, I couldn't quite do the workout I wanted to do today, or I'm feeling bloated and that makes me feel guilty and I should do more work. And I think that if we pay more attention to really honoring what our body's telling us we want to do and being okay with, maybe we're supposed to do a heavy lifting day today, but we're just not feeling it, so we're not going to, and being okay with that, right? I think I'm doing this like online challenge, like a women's sort of motivation challenge thing on Facebook this month. And one of the things that I'm talking about with a lot of these women, it's really hard to internalize, but our rest and recovery time is when we're actually getting stronger, right? Like it's so hard for ambitious, hardworking women to get that. They're like, I just got to work hard and lift weights. But it's when you're lifting your weights, your muscles are breaking down. You're getting weaker. It's the time that you allow yourself to rest and recover and take care of your body and sleep and manage your stress. That's when you're coming back stronger. So I think that those two things, just be as healthy as you can and just really honor what your body's telling you, and don't be so wrapped up in the guilt of not doing what you like think you're supposed to be doing. Yeah.
Just had a comment where it's so Callie's dealing with the menopause, and it's a vicious cycle of like losing sleep over the gaining weight.
Yeah, so again, that's like I think probably some of it. And you know, another thing I'll say here too is for anybody that's listening, a couple people who are professionals in this that you could check out and look into and reach out to that I've dealt with on a professional basis is Dr. Ellie Michelle, and I can maybe put these in like your the post that I can tag them.
Yeah,
Dr. Ellie Michelle is a naturopathic doctor who focuses on hormones. Dr. Jolene Brighton is really good. And Dr. Alyssa Vitti, they all focus on hormones and women's health and wellness. So those are like doctors that you should be looking at and talking to. But you know, again, with menopause, like it's a whole different, you should probably be getting maybe like a hormone test and like checking and seeing where your levels are, because otherwise it's speculation. Like we don't know, like, are your hormone levels okay? Is there something you could be supplementing with? Probably largely a lot of it is a sleep and stress management issue, because these things are all going to go out of whack if you're not kind of managing that base first.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's super complicated, right? Like that's why these are all very individual issues. You got to get tested and work with a professional to figure it out.
Absolutely. And when you're working with these professionals and making sure that because everybody's different and every woman's cycle is different. I know mine, after I turned 30, it was like, I had to relearn my body again. It's like constant, like ups and downs, like, oh, I'm getting cramps now. I never had cramps before. But just being aware of your body, making sure you understand if there are changes, if there aren't. If there aren't, it's great, right? So
yeah, that's true. Like
just knowing that,
having a body awareness, you're going to pay attention to changes and ups and downs a lot more than people who are not aware of this stuff at all. So you're already kind of a leg up if you're paying attention to your body's signals. So that, and then kind of getting some baseline testing and talking to some people about what those results mean is going to be the biggest step, really.
Perfect. Another question we have with the nutrition and training, do you find, everybody talks about nutrition timing a lot. Does it make a difference male to female that you find eating protein and all that stuff?
Yeah, so again, super, super individual. From all the research and all the people that I've spoken to about things like nutrition timing and different sort of protocols for, like, I guess, optimizing health and you know, healthy body fat levels and things like that. I think that sometimes we're a little too quick to jump on specific protocol bandwagons because we see other people being successful with them. And I think that a lot of people right now are taking like the ketogenic approach as like the only approach for managing fat loss and things like that. Also, when it comes to fasting, I think some people kind of jump into it maybe a little too strongly. And it's like, okay, well, if fasting is going to help, then I'm going to fast once a week for 2 days or something, like, you know. So I think that what we need to do is we need to do our research first. We need to go into these things with a little bit of caution and realize that, again, because our bodies are a little bit more complex hormonally, that women tend to maybe do a little bit better with a more well-rounded approach to nutrition, focusing more on nutrient density and eating the things that are going to nourish us rather than immediately starting to figure out like what can we cut and what can we restrict in order to lose body fat. One of the things that I've noticed with clients and with people that I work with the most, this may be a little bit different for female athletes versus like, you know, the general population, but it's still, I think, a more pervasive issue with women is we're not fueling enough. We're not eating enough. We're focusing more on restriction, and we want to perform well and gain weight or gain muscle while also eating hardly anything. And it's really, really hard for women to unlearn this concept that nourishing your body and eating enough and like growing muscle isn't like a scary thing, right? So keto is a tool that can work. Fasting is a tool that can definitely work. I don't think that we need to like be so black and white about, okay, now I'm keto and I'm never going to eat a carb again, or if I don't fast today, I failed. I think that there are tools in the toolbox, and I think that we should start with a protein-centric, whole foods, nutrient-dense approach to nourishing ourselves first, and then you tweak all this other stuff sort of as you go.
Perfect. I agree with that completely. I think as much as social media has brought a lot of people together, it's also like pushed out in the forefront a lot of not so great information, like the calorie restrictions. Like if you want to be skinny, you gotta cut it to like 1,000 calories a day and can't eat carbs, and it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to some of my girlfriends, and this isn't in any way, there's no sort of shame or judgment in this. This is literally like a learning experience too. And we all kind of can fall off the wagon or make decisions that aren't ideal because someone else told us that they're right. But I've had so many friends where I've had to show them like physically in the course of the day, I'm like, I'm eating probably twice as much as you are. Like I'm pretty healthy. Like I'm pretty sorted out. Like it's not, don't be afraid to eat real food, you know, like anyway, I think it's just something that we need to just see more of, and then we'll kind of start to get on board with it. But with that said, I have been kind of switching up my diet approach a little bit since the quarantine. And it's like, again, it's just sort of experimenting with myself and paying attention to how I feel. But one thing that I've done, because I tend to be somebody who eats 3 to 5 square meals a day. I'm not, you know, I'm not big into fasting. I'm not big into any kind of particular nutrient timing protocol. I just like to eat. So I eat all the time, and I just try to keep it healthy so that it doesn't bite me in the butt later. But one of the things that I've done since quarantine started is I have actually started doing a compressed eating window, which is kind of another way of saying like daily intermittent fasting. And basically just means that most days have not been eating breakfast. I've been waiting until lunchtime, and then I've been having bigger lunches, bigger dinners, and then a snack in between. So I'm still essentially eating the same amount of calories. I'm just eating them in a shorter time frame. So instead of eating from 9 in the morning to 7 at night, I'm eating at like 12 to around 7. And the reason I've been doing that is because I am acknowledging, because I'm very aware of what I'm doing over the course of the day, that I'm moving a lot less, and my energy requirements are lower, because at the end of the day, I'm stuck in my house. I might go for a walk, but like I'm not doing the crazy gym workouts that I normally do. So I wasn't waking up hungry like I normally was. And instead of just saying, okay, well, it's breakfast, so I'll eat, I was like, okay, let's pay attention to my body's signals and eat when I'm hungry. And I'm still going to nourish myself. And it's been working out. And every once in a while, I'll eat breakfast because I'm hungry. And when I'm not, I don't. And this has been like a really actually cool learning experience for me, because I am somebody who does tend to plan my day around my next meal because I just love to eat so much. And having sort of a bit of a switch during this time where you could really let food completely take over.
Oh yeah.
I've tried to go the other direction and just be like, just nourish yourself and eat a good amount of food and feel good about it. But like, don't eat just because it's a very slippery slope, right?
Oh, absolutely. Completely. Yeah. The big question now is, how did you get into organ meats?
Yeah. My favorite topic. Yeah. So I've always been, so we talked about paleo. So I've always found the paleo approach, and for anyone who just doesn't really get what that is, it's really just nutrient dense whole foods, like not processed, not something that has an ingredients list. It's meat and vegetables and fruit and seeds and things that are kind of stuff that we ate, like our ancestors ate, essentially. And there's a lot of kind of rules or different opinions about what kind of the optimal paleo diet is. For me, it's literally just trying to eat less processed foods, trying to eat less like hyper palatable sugary foods, right? So I've always moved in that direction because it made the most sense to me. And with that, I've always been more of a sort of meat-centric versus a plant-centric eater. And again, that was just something that my body wanted me to do. So I always kind of ate a lot of protein, ate a lot of animal protein. And I was always concerned with having muscle too, because I've got this background in like powerlifting and bodybuilding. And so I wanted to have muscle, and I knew that protein was the key micronutrient to do that, for your macronutrient to do that. And again, I think it just really comes down to like a love of food. Like I just love trying like new cuisines and different dishes and going to different restaurants and like trying things that were new, because food is like one of my favorite things in the world. So I didn't want to turn myself away from anything because it was weird. And as I learned more about nutrient density and eating foods that are really going to nourish your body, I started learning about this sort of nose to tail approach and how good that is for the people eating, and also how good that is for the sustainability of the sort of meat eating industry. And I just sort of kind of had a lot of passion for it. And I think that we need to, as a culture, as a meat eating culture, because no matter what the internet wants to tell you, most of us still eat meat. If we're going to do it, let's learn about how to do it in the most healthy way, in the most sustainable way, in the way that's honoring the animals that are dying for us to be healthy. And then of course, the more I did it, the more I realized that it was just really arbitrary for people to be grossed out by like heart or tongue when we're fine with eating like the hock of an animal. Like, you're going to cut this piece off and eat it and not blink. Why is it weird to eat another part of the animal? It's just because we're not used to it. So I think that just sort of in an encouraging way, just showing people that there's other options, and that they aren't scary, and that they aren't as extreme or weird as you think they are. And in fact, they can actually open up kind of a whole new world of like delicious food and real nutritious eating that you can enjoy. And again, I didn't grow up eating organ meats. Like I grew up eating pretty like average North American food. And so it's not one of those things like I hear people say like, I can't get into it because I never ate it, or like, how am I going to get my kids to eat this way because it's so weird and they haven't done it. I'm like, just try it. That's literally what I did. I just tried it. And you try different ways of preparing it, and you go to different restaurants and order something that's a little different. And you know, the worst that can happen is that you try a piece of beef heart and you're like, nah, not for me. Or you could try it and it's delicious and wonderful, and you have this whole new thing to add to your diet, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah, so now I'm writing a cookbook. So it's funny because that was like my sort of labor of love over the last like 6 months. And I started writing it before I had a publisher, and I was like, you know what, maybe 5 people will buy this book, but I'm doing it anyway because I want to write this book. And I think that, you know, it might sound niche, but people thought keto was niche too, and now there's 200 keto cookbooks in Barnes and Noble.
Definitely.
So I started writing it, and then I connected with Victory Belt, which is a really great book publisher that publishes a lot of like fitness related books, like Kelly Starrett's and Ben Greenfield's and stuff like that. And the hope is to get it out. We may hopefully not have delays with what's going on right now, but there's a chance if we can keep it on track that it'll be ready like sort of late summer-ish. And I just hope that people, you know, it's like one of those like, just, you know, try it once and then see what you think. You might find yourself, you know, trying something completely new and really loving it, and the worst that happens is you're right back where you started. So that's kind of my
what's the name of your book?
I don't actually want to tell anybody yet. I have to talk to my publisher about this because I haven't said it out loud yet. It's a great name though. I'm really proud of it. But it's because it's still like I haven't kind of put it out into the world yet. We're still waiting on, unfortunately, the pandemic made it so that I couldn't kind of do my last round of pictures and like cover photo and stuff. So once we have that, we can kind of create the cover and like start showing it to the world. But I haven't had a chance to do that yet. So it's a secret, but I will definitely keep people posted over like the next few weeks, and you know, as I can start talking about it more.
Perfect. And the book is obviously going to have some organ-based recipes in there. Anything specific
Yeah, so I
else in
mean,
the book?
it's mostly going to be there's sort of like an educational component where I'm kind of just giving a little bit of background about how ubiquitous it actually is to eat organ meats across cultures and across basically human history. Talk a little bit about the health benefits, talk a little bit about the ethics and the sustainability and all those things, about the sort of nose to tail practice. And then I'm kind of breaking it down into different parts and different animals. And I'm going to cover most of it. Like if there's an organ that is not included, it's because I couldn't get that organ from the butcher shop. Or it was just sort of so kind of complicated. Because again, I'm not a chef. Like I'm literally trying this stuff out as I go too, which is another, I think, indication that anybody who's sort of adventurous and willing to try can do it, because I don't have any additional training to do this kind of stuff. And I made some recipes that are pretty good. So anything from like heart to liver to tongue to kidneys to gizzards to all of it, all the different animals, desserts even. So yeah, you got to stay tuned, but I'm pretty proud of it.
That's awesome. Okay, so I understand time's running up a little bit. Is there anything on your reading list right now, or are you listening to any podcasts that you'd like to share?
Okay, that's a good question. So reading wise, I'm kind of always reading. Like if I'm interviewing somebody, I'm always going to read their book. So I should probably put together like a list of some of my favorite like health reading. But in quarantine, I gotta be honest, I've been reading a lot of fiction just because I just want to read something fun, and like there's only so much Netflix. So I've been reading a lot of fiction. But as far as podcasts go, I mean, I really like, so the friend of mine that I'm working with on this this wellness challenge that I've been doing, her name's Rachel Gregory, and she has a podcast called Metflex and Chill. So it's about metabolic flexibility, which is, I think, a really important topic for in the health world, which is essentially, again, just sort of building this resilience around whether you want to be keto or you want to be high carb or you want to eat whatever you want, kind of having this like resilient system. And so she talks to a lot of experts and stuff on her podcast. It's really great, Metflex and Chill. And I would, of course, recommend everybody listen to Muscle Intelligence podcast, which is put on by my friend Ben Pekulski, and which I co-host. And that's a really good one for meatheads. So anybody that's listening to this that's like into building muscle, being strong, being intelligent about their training, Muscle Intelligence podcast is definitely highly recommended. And then maybe just a third one that isn't actually about fitness, but I've been getting a lot of enjoyment out of it, is a podcast called Ologies. Do you know about this one?
I've heard of it. I haven't listened to it. So
it's awesome. So it's Ologies. So it's basically each episode is about an expert in a different field, so an ologist of some kind, but every episode is something different. So it's like the science of kissing, the science of, I don't know, grass, the science of the Bermuda Triangle. Like it's amazing dinner party conversations. If we ever get to have a dinner party again, then you'll have but it's fun. I think it's important right now for people to, it's great for us to be ambitious and to be learning and to be bettering ourselves. But I think it's also really important to find ways throughout the day to just like have a little bit of fun and like pleasure and just like enjoy the stuff you're doing without thinking like, what am I learning or what am I getting out of this? You know, just like have a little bit of fun during the day too, because things are rough. So do what you can to take care of yourself.
If I could get a list of the podcasts and stuff, we can put it out afterwards on a post. Yep. So I'll message Ashleigh after, and I'll get a list of the podcasts and the books that she's read, and then we'll put on a post so you guys can take a look at it after.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, so that about wraps things up. You guys, you're a little busy on your schedule today, but thank you so much for joining us.
No, I appreciate
it's really great to talk to you and learn about organ meats, and as well as creating a nutritional, balanced daily lifestyle.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I wish we could have done this in person, but you know, this is all over. We'll organize something and get together in real life.
Absolutely. Hopefully by the end of this, we can have our summit again, and then you can be one of our guest speakers. That's the end goal. So awesome. We're very hopeful. But thank you again, and I'll speak to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Tess.
Thank you. Be safe.